Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the ins and outs of strength training. My name is Matt Fells McDowell, and today we're going to be going over, all the ins and outs of strength training. We have a lot to go over, so I'm going to jump right into it. Again, please mute your microphone and turn off your camera, and we'll get right into it. So, starting with our agenda, I'm going to briefly go over the importance of why you're going to be strength training. I'm hoping a lot of people are here because they already know there are a lot of benefits.
Totally get that.
There we go. So we know why we have a lot of benefits. Things like improving muscle strength, endurance, and your overall fitness for your body. It can improve your bone density. It can really help all the things in between your connective tissue that connects your bones to your muscles, and not just kind of your physical systems, but your metabolic and your weight management. It also has psychological benefits for stress reduction and confidence building. And so when I'm talking about everything today about how you can strength train, it's really targeting those systems, specifically the physiological systems, things like your muscles and your joints and your bones. I'll be going over some basic recommendations for how you should really get started with your strength training journey, breaking down the muscle groups so you know what to hit, and then I'll try to add a little more nuance to those recommendations, and we'll have maybe one or two sample routines at the end. So, talking about what is strength training, the definition here is the the way you can move your body to increase your strength, your ability to move weight. So there's a lot of ways that this can happen. We have different types of strength training. Here I have in different colors, we have body weight exercises like yoga. I would count as a strength training, depending on how you do it. It can definitely be a part of that strength training routine. Something like Pilates, again, something that's using your body weight to do the movement through a few repetitions. And then finally, something like pull-ups, the kind of new term for that is called calisthenics. And so that's using your body weight to move in that strength training way. Then we have free weights, so using an external weight, and that's going to be using something like a dumbbell, a barbell, or a medicine ball, something that has a weight and you're not changing that weight in any way. You're just moving it throughout space. And then we have machines, things like the leg press, the lat pull down cables. So something that you're using an implement to help move the weight, and then resistance bands. And resistance bands come in a lot of different ways. If you've done physical therapy, you've probably seen something like a TheraBand. They'll give you these in your physical therapy for free. And they have that stretch. And so it can be a heavy resistance band where it's really hard to stretch it, or a light resistance band. And those can be used in a lot of different ways, but you can incorporate those into your strength training. And there's positives and benefits to each of these, and we'll go over that in just a second here. But going a little more into detail about, first, we're going to talk about these free weights. So free weights, typically when I say free weights, I'm thinking a barbell or a dumbbell, but medicine balls also would count. We have our athletes here doing a bench press or a bicep curl. And so it's a free weight because it's moving throughout space, and it's your job to figure out how to move it correctly. And we'll be talking a little bit about form in a minute here, but the idea is you're targeting a specific muscle in a specific way to get it to grow. And so with our Severe Wheeler here doing a bench press, he's lying on his back trying to get that chest muscle to work, going through its full range of motion, using a barbell. And that's going to be a compound movement. Again, we're going to talk about this a little more in a second. And then Devin Leary here is doing the top end of a bicep curl. I will be doing a lot of example bicep curls in just a second because it's very easy to talk about a movement like a bicep curl and explain a little bit of the nuances there. And then we also have The Biomotion Lab here showing us a leg press. So it's a very restricted movement going up and back with your legs in the machine, which has its positives because you know you're going to be hitting the muscles that it's targeting. But you're not really using your whole body in space. So it's not as challenging as free weights, but it is going to hit those muscles. And when you're first getting started, it might be the right way to go. And then finally, we have our body weight example here is flow yoga, which is uh, it's actually happening right now. So if you're here, you're probably missing the flow yoga class that's happening in LAC 170. It's our group exercise class. But it's a great way to use your body in some unique positions and really target the systems the same way a weight would do or a machine would do, but really trying to hit your body in different positions to make it grow the same way strength training would. So my question to you is, are you strength training now? You can say yes, no, maybe put your hand up in the Zoom link, in the Zoom comments. If you are not, are you planning to, or have you in the past? I'm seeing a lot of yeses in the chat. I just saw that okay, we haven't had any questions. A lot of yeses. So this is something I usually ask people when they are coming to me for a consult or starting their personal training. Amanda, great. I'm glad you're getting started just now. So it's a good idea to think about where you are before you get started training. If you are training, good. I'm glad. And hopefully you can learn something from this presentation still. And then if you have in the past, that is something you can call on when you're building your new plan as you get started. Well, we have some yeses, we have some nos. Uh, if you are not currently working out, hopefully I can give you some tips today and maybe give you some resources to get yourself started. So I'm going to talk about the ACSM a lot today. That's the American College of Sports Medicine, and they are a group that really sets the guidelines for what you should do fitness-wise. Today we're going to be talking about strength, but they also have guidelines for cardio and flexibility and mobility, and they're kind of a hub for a lot of research that's happening in physical activity, fitness, and wellness. And so it's give a little more of a definition, it's a professional organization with a mission to educate and empower professionals to advance the science and practice of health and human performance. So they are giving guidelines and recommendations for physical activity, exercise testing, exercise prescription, and these are widely used by us, but also other fitness professionals, healthcare providers, and researchers. They also have certifications for personal trainers. We have a few personal trainers here at MoveWell who are certified through the ACSM. Also certifications for group exercise instructors, exercise physiologists, and we also have a program called Exercise is Medicine, which healthcare providers can refer to fitness professionals to help guide people and prescribe them exercise, kind of like it's a medicine, which it often is kind of it is alluded to as if it were a medicine. There's so many benefits for exercise. It really would be the best pill if you could take it just once a day. So they're the ones we look to, the ACSM, and here are kind of my interpretations of their guidelines. You can find these online, but the way I like to explain it is to have at least 2 days a week for your strength training. And so they really do say 1 day a week for a little bit of benefit. You get almost double the benefit if you are able to go twice a week. So if you have to go 1 week where you only go once a week, that's going to be okay, but you're going to get a lot more benefit if you can go twice a week. You can also go 3 times a week, but there's diminishing returns on how many times per week you're actually going to be strength training. And so during that one session, or twice a week, you're going to try to do 8 to 12 repetitions in one set, ideally 2 to 3 sets. And then it's 8 to 12 for healthy adults. And then as you get older, the recommendation is changing to 10 to 15 repetitions for older and frail individuals. Now, this is a really basic definition, and a lot of times people will be doing different amounts. So down to down to even 1 rep for people who are really trying to max their weight. Professional athletes who are doing this for basically a living might be doing their 1 rep max to really see how much they can lift. That's not going to be your everyday general healthy adult. On the flip side, endurance athletes might be doing way more repetitions simply because that's hitting the systems that they use in their sport. So this is kind of that middle ground between 8 to 15 where everyone can get a lot of benefit if they just stick to this area. So if you're just starting out, I would say just start at 10 and then you could jump between 8 and 12 and see what works best for you. And then for exercises, it's between 8 and 10 different exercises on that one day that target different muscle groups. And we are going to go into the different muscle groups right now. So this is the anatomy of strength training. If you've taken an anatomy class, this is going to be very basic for what you should do in your workout. So starting with the major muscle groups. So if I went back, I'm going to go back here. They say 8 to 10 different exercises that target the different muscle groups. And if I were to break that down, this is how I would break down the different muscle groups. Starting with the legs, we have the glutes, the quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves. And this is a very basic part of the legs. There's so many more muscles in the entire body, but the ones that really people target when they talk about the major muscle groups, the glutes, quadriceps, and hamstrings are all used in a squat or a lunge. And the calves also to some degree. So a body weight squat, a goblet squat holding a dumbbell or a kettlebell, or a barbell squat, that's going to be the main one that gets used for all of these muscles. You can also do different exercises like isolation movement with a knee extensor or a hamstring flexion or a calf raise. So you can break these up a little more, but I think we do talk about this later is the compound movement, but trying to hit all the legs with less exercises is really going to help you the most. Moving on to the chest, that's the pec muscle. So your chest press, your back, which is your lats and trapezius muscle for your rows or your pull downs, the shoulders, deltoids, so a shoulder press, an overhead press, and then arms, biceps, triceps, wrist extensors and flexors. You can really get really small muscles and really detailed if you want to. And finally, abdominals. Rectus femoris, that's your six pack, the oblique abs, that's underneath that six pack, and it helps you with twist or anti-twist movements. And so, again, we're going to be talking about a lot of different aspects today. I am jumping around a little bit, but so the principles of strength training, these are the things that are going to help your muscles grow, help your bones get more dense, and help that connective tissue get stronger, thicker. So progressive overload, that's the first one. As you're going week by week, month by month, year by year, you want to be progressively overloading your system. So when you first join the gym, you'll be lifting relatively lighter weights than you will be later, a couple months later, even weeks later. So you want to start with a lighter weight and then build it up. You want to be starting with lighter repetitions and be building up. The way I usually start people on a program, I tell them to find the weight that works for the movement and keep on that weight for a few weeks, maybe a month, and just build up that endurance over a month. And by the time you get to the higher reps, that 12 or 15 reps, that's when you move the weight up. So you really want to practice moving with a light weight, get that technique down first, build up the endurance. And when you're building up the endurance, you're going to get the muscle, but also that connective tissue, that neurological connection. And that's really going to help you get to that next step. The next principle is specificity, meaning you want to do the movements that you are doing in real life. So if you're training for a sport, you're going to be doing things that are similar to that sport. If you're just doing general health, you're going to be doing movements that are mimicking that movement you do in your general life. And we'll talk about those a little more in a second. I see your question, Sharon. I'll jump into that in just a second. Another principle, rest and recovery. You want to make sure you're getting enough rest. You're going to be want to make sure you're getting enough recovery because that is the time you actually grow. So in our physiological classes or other, I think it's physiological. It's been a while since I took the class. There's a term called the general adaptation syndrome. General adaptation syndrome, excuse me. And that is you're at your baseline and then you do a strength training session or you push yourself, you get some stress. And initially, your ability to do that thing goes down. So if I'm going on a run, I'm not going to be running at the same speed the whole time. I'm eventually going to have to slow down. And that's that my response is that I get worse at something. After I rest and recover, I'm going to get better at something. And that's true for almost anything. It's going to be true for you if you're studying for a class, and it's going to be true if you're going on a jog. So you do need that recovery. And how much recovery? We're going to talk about that. And then finally, variation. You don't want to do the same thing over and over and just hit your head against the wall. If you've hit a plateau, it might be time to change things up. So you're not always doing the same exact exercise the exact same way. You do want some variety and just give yourself different options. So if I'm always doing the same type of chest press, at some point my body is going to get too much used to that type of exercise, and I will inevitably need to switch it up. Otherwise, you can get injured, essentially. Okay, so I had a question come up. Sharon asks, as someone who has recently recovered from a biceps strain, how do I make sure I don't injure myself as I progress? And it's really tough sometimes just knowing that you have an injury. You do want to start smaller. So you might need to come back and work through a lighter range of motion, a smaller range of motion, a lighter weight, and sometimes that's a good idea to use a good time to use a resistance band because the resistance on the band is dynamic, which is nice because you can really change it based on what you can do, but you want to keep it light and you want to make sure you're not overdoing it as you're coming back. um, Listen to your body. Make sure that you're not pushing yourself too much to the point of pain, to the point of discomfort. Strength training is going to have some level of discomfort, but you just need to be able to listen to your body and say, okay, this is too much for me. Stay within that Goldilocks zone of something that is progressively overloading, but not to the point of injury. Good question, Sharon. Okay, so I talked a little bit about what everyday activities you should be doing and how these are going to relate to the exercises you do in the gym for your strength training. So these are things that mimic everyday activities, things like the squat, the row, the bench press, or the deadlift. So these are the technical weightlifting terms. Now let's talk about how that interacts with your real life. Squat, row, bench press, deadlift. Okay. So the compound movement, that's a compound movement is a exercise that covers more than one muscle group. On the left here, we have the compound squat. So it's a barbell squat. And on the right, we have the isolation exercise, the knee extension. So ideally, most of your exercises are going to be compound exercises, kind of moving the way you would in real life. Isolation exercises have their place in a workout. If you really want to target a specific muscle, you'll see a lot of bodybuilders do this kind of thing if they're really building up a specific muscle group. Um, but it's not going to help you kind of interact with your daily life the same way as a compound movement would. So we have the squat, starting with the body weight squat. This is how you're able to move up and down in the world. making sure you're doing it in the right form. Um, we have some resources for that if you need someone to help you figure out how best to squat with your body, because everyone's body is a little different. We have consults, we have Fitness 101, and we have personal trainers. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But it is important to know how to move within your own body. And the squat is so important because it's going to be where you are most of your day sitting. You're going to have to squat to sit down. You're going to have to do the squat to sit up, to stand up. So getting that squat, getting at your ability to stand up and sit down, it's what we do all the time. Sitting in your car, getting out of your car, getting into your car, and also the very important sitting on your toilet. You need to be able to sit down and get into that squat position in a controlled manner, standing up without pain. It's very important, and strength training is going to be kind of the way you keep this up throughout your life. Another question we have coming up, are there personal trainers via Zoom? Um, I don't know if we have anyone who's asked to sign up via Zoom before, Lisa. I'm gonna have to talk with my supervisor to see if our personal trainers can do Zoom. I know we have consultations via Zoom, so we will. Uh, oh, it looks like my supervisor is going to answer that in the chat. So we will figure that out. Moving on to the next exercise, we have the row. So this is the seated row. This is the thing you'll find at the gym on a pulley or a cable machine. This is similar to opening a door, as easy as that. Or picking something off the ground. We have someone picking up some toys off the ground. It's actually the same position here on the right as the thing on the left. It's just a different orientation. If you turn that person sideways, you can see that they are in that same position about to pull something from the ground. So it's a very important movement. I'm about to get a new lawnmower, and I'm just thinking that same position, starting the lawnmower, is that same row I've been practicing for years now in the gym. On the other side of the body, we have the chest, the bench press, kind of the classic one you've seen possibly in videos or just in this picture. It's the opposite of the row. It's pushing things. Uh, the child pushing the car door closed or pushing someone on a swing. It is important to be able to push things away. And it's important to keep your body balanced. If you're going to be able to pull something, you want to be able to push something as well. And finally, it's the compound movement. This is the deadlift. It's similar to the squat. It's still hitting the glutes and hamstrings, but this is about lifting something safely. So if you're going to be lifting something off the ground, like a small child, or a box, if you've done any work safety uh, classes, you might have seen this picture where they're lifting up a box. This is kind of like a squat, but it's closer to a deadlift. So it's lifting something that's in front of your body, and you can see they're keeping their back straight. Their legs are doing most of the work. They're getting their hips nice and low to lift up that object. Really important to get a proper deadlift, especially if you do any sort of lifting in your day-to-day life. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what kind of things you do in the gym when you're actually doing these lifts. So what is a rep? So a rep is one movement of an exercise. So hopefully you can see me. This is the time I'm going to do a lot of bicep curls. I have my dumbbells up here. The rep is one time down and one time up. And so in my muscle here, in my bicep, the bicep is lengthening as the weight goes down and it's shortening as it goes up. And that is one rep. And then there's types of muscle contraction within this action. There's the concentric, so I have to go down to start this. The concentric is as my weight goes up to the air, my bicep shortens, and that's the concentric action. So you can think of that as anytime the weight is going up into the air. If I'm holding the dumbbell, that means my arm is moving up, and that's concentric action. if there's a pulley involved, it's going to be reversed. So if I'm doing a pull down and you can see the pulley is up in the air, the weight itself is going up. It's just that my body has to go down. So you want to think about which way the weight is going, not which way you are going all the time, because eccentric is the opposite. Anytime the weight is going down, the muscle is lengthening. That's the eccentric action. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second here because concentric and eccentric are both very important when you're doing your weight training. And finally, we have the isometric. And that is when your muscle is not moving, you're just holding in place. The exercise I think of when I think of isometric is the plank. So you're on your feet, on your arms, and you're just holding that position for time. And that's really great for building that one position, but it's not great for building the whole muscle. It's not great for building kind of your joint action, but it is good if you're going to be holding that position for a long time. Um, for example, I used to be very into snowboarding and skiing. And what we would do is that wall sit. So you're sitting on the wall in that kind of squat position because when you're snowboarding or skiing, you're going to be in that position for minutes at a time going down the mountain, downhill skiing for this one. And it's just, you're in that position so long, you really need to work on that isometric. But for concentric and eccentric, this is going to be 95% of what you do when you're thinking of strength training. And we want to think about tempo because tempo can be very important. Tempo being how long are you going down and how long are you going up in that exercise. So we have the eccentric, pause, concentric action. And so for strength, typically people are doing a 2 second, 0 second, 2 seconds. So 2 seconds down in that eccentric, no pause, just going straight up into concentric action. So 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up with a lot of heavy weight. You really don't have time to pause at the bottom. You're just going down and up, but it is 2 seconds on the way down. You don't want to drop down. You want it controlled. And about 2 seconds is about the lowest amount of time you can have and still have it be controlled. It's so important to be controlled in these strength training exercises. To build the muscle, it needs to be controlled the whole way down. So I don't think I have a picture here of how it works in your muscle itself, but your muscle has these little hooks. And the way it expands is the hooks disconnect, go longer, and then reconnect. Each time you hold, it's going to do a little bit of reconnection. And you want to get your muscle to do that because over time, they're going to slip and basically miss, or maybe they're going to tear. And that's why your muscle gets sore, essentially, is that your muscles do tear a little bit. And then over time, as you recover, your body says, we need more of this hook. And then you get more hooks, and then the muscle can actually get stronger because it has more connection points. It has more volume to do this action, the strength movement. Okay. Another tempo is speed. If you really want to work on your ability to move fast, maybe you're into sprinting, or maybe you sometimes there's throwers. People are doing athletic movements. They'll do this 1-0-1. So it's really fast on the way down, really fast on the way up. And typically with this speed work, they're not going to be doing the heaviest weight. They're going to be doing lighter weight and really trying to move as fast as possible. I don't really recommend this for most general people, but it is something to think about. And finally, slow, if you're really trying to build a muscle, trying to build your connective tissue, you're going to be doing more of a slow, deep, slow eccentric, so 4 seconds to get down to the bottom, actually doing that isometric hold for 2 seconds, and then a fast on the way up. And this one is also lighter weight than the strength work. This is going to be a lighter weight, and you're really going to be doing a lot more time under tension, which builds that connective tissue. It's going to build that muscle, and that whole set is going to be a lot longer. And we're going to talk about set right here. Because how many reps? One set is a collection of reps. So you're going to be doing not just one down and up, it's going to be a lot. And we talked about this before. It's between 8 and 15, which is 8 to 12 for healthy adults or 10 to 15 for older and frail adults. And so you do want to do at least one set in your workout. Ideally, it's more like two or three. Sometimes people go to four or five, but at least one, 2 to 4 when you're able to. And again, if you think about how long that takes, if you're doing that slow rep, 4 seconds down, 2 seconds hold, 1 second up, 7 seconds, multiply that by 10, that's like over a minute to almost 2 minutes for a set. So think about taking some rest after that if you're doing two whole minutes of a workout, just one exercise. It is not just your muscle, it's going to be your cardio too, if you're going that long. One thing that I see in my textbooks for this kind of thing is the rep range chart. Some people like to see this chart because it kind of breaks down that tempo and that set. So if you're working that heavy strength work, that 202 work, you might be in this 3 reps all the way to 6 reps. You can get a lot of strength here in the upper up to 12, but then it really starts to go away when you're getting up into that really high rep range. Power is even less. So power is like that speed work where you're really just trying to go fast. And that's going to cap out at about 5 reps. Hypertrophy is where you see it's overlapping where where a lot of our recommendation is, because we do want people to build their muscle. You're going to get a lot of strength work, a lot of power, and even muscle endurance if you're working in this hypertrophic range. Hypertrophy means you're building muscle. Hyper means up. Trophy actually is nutrition in Latin. So hypertrophy means more nutrition, but the way we use it now, it just means growth. And then up above 12, that's where you're really going into that muscle endurance. And I think I saw some questions coming in. What is a good amount of time to rest between sets and then between exercises? Amanda, we are going to talk about that in just a moment right now. Thank you for the transition. So we have rest and recovery. So between a workout and between days, we're going to talk about that. So between your sets, you want about 1 to 2 minutes between sets. You can do less, you can reduce time with a circuit. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So 1 to 2 minutes between sets. So if I'm going to do my bicep curl example, I'm doing my bicep curl, I did my 8 repetitions, and I need to take a rest. So you have about 1 or 2 minutes. There's maybe a little benefit for going down to 30 seconds or so just to let that muscle recover and then coming back quickly, and that can help. It can potentially help the metabolic versus just your strength. It's going to definitely be a little more of a cardiovascular workout that way if you're going to be going just 30 seconds or so. And then more than 2 minutes, you're kind of just sitting there, kind of wasting time. You can get a lot of the same benefit if you wait longer, but it's just how much time do you have in a day? And so this next sentence here, you can reduce the time, the wasted time by doing a circuit or what I call supersetting. So you choose 2 exercises, and these are exercises that are hitting different body parts. So if I'm doing my bicep curl for 60 seconds, I can then switch and do a tricep exercise. So it's a different muscle. And while my bicep curl is not being used, it's resting, I'm hitting a different body part. So you're going back and forth, and you're still getting the rest between your sets, but you're going to be saving time overall because you're doing something while it's resting. So if you can, I recommend trying to do a superset or a circuit, trying to do multiple, like 3 or 4 exercises in a row. The problem here becomes if you're at a Planet Fitness or something like that, you can't just come back to the same machine. Someone jumped on the thing you're using. You really have to design the workout or be at a place where you just have a lot of space. So Do it if you can, but it's not end all be all thing. If you're working out at the student gym, the Johnson Center, you probably won't be able to do this type of workout. Um, but it is an option if you can. One other consideration is larger muscles will typically need more rest. So if you're doing a squat, which is hitting those glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, those are big muscles, you're going to need more rest. It's going to be closer to that 2 minutes to fully recover. Smaller muscles or less muscles, less rest. So if I'm just doing like a wrist curl exercise, these are really small muscles and they just don't need that long to recover. They have a lot of blood flow going to them. They can come back fast. Okay, so now resting between your workouts, Homer here is doing a great job of recovering between your workout sessions. Uh, Ideally, it's a whole day off. So you work out one day, you hit your whole body. The next day, you're not going to be doing any sort of resistance training. You can do cardio and other activities on the day after, but really you need a full day of recovery from strength training to the next strength training day. But one thing you can do is you can work a split. So if you have a lot of days you want to go to the gym, you're going to the gym 4 days a week, you can do an upper body day one day and then do a lower body day the next day and then take a whole day off and then come back do the same thing. So that would be like a Monday, Tuesday, upper body, lower body, take a whole day off and then do the same thing Thursday, Friday. And so you're still getting a whole day off for your upper body and lower body. You're actually getting 2 days off in between, but you're going to be saving time because you're not going to be spending a whole hour trying to hit every single body part each day you're at the gym. So if you can get to a gym multiple days, you can do this split. If you're really thinking I can only get to a gym 2 days a week, you might want to do the whole body and then take more days off. So it really comes down to your own time uh, allocation. Okay, so technique considerations. Technique definitely helps. So it's going to help you activate the right muscles. If you're doing something like a chest press, but your body's out of position, it's not going to hit your chest anymore. It's going to hit something like your shoulder if you're going too high or you're going too low. If you're doing a squat and you're bending over really far, you're not going to be able to hit your quadriceps the same way as if you were putting your body in the right position. And I can't really do this kind of thing over Zoom. So I will highly recommend finding someone to help you with technique if this is something you need. We have personal trainers, we have our consults, and we have our Fitness 101. And we'll talk about that at the end of the session here. Technique also can help you prevent injury, um, making sure the joints are working the way they're intended to be used. There's a lot of variation that can go into this, but there are some things you want to definitely avoid as well. This technique can help you get the results you want. Are you moving in a way that's going to be building your muscle, or is it going to kind of practicing the wrong way? So we want to make sure you're doing things in a way that's going to give you the benefits and help you continue for the long term. So, like I said, we have consultations, personal training, and ultimately just getting practice, going to the gym multiple times a week for a long time. Okay, we have another question here. We have two questions. Okay, let's talk about Teresa. You asked, there's a lot of attention on recovery products like drinks. I think Powers is possibly powders. Any thoughts on those products and their effectiveness? I didn't plan to talk about nutrition very much in this talk. Um, I believe whole foods is going to be what you want to do for the most part. If most people can get everything they need from whole foods, from their meals, um, if it helps you get the hydration you need, it can help. But let me get a sip of water while I think about that. I would say I'm going to have to refer out to talking to your doctor or talking to a dietitian. about whether those would help you specifically. For myself, um, I will do an electrolyte drink if I'm really sweating a lot. I am a salty sweater, so I do use something like that. But I don't try to do anything else for powders or drinks. I try to get it all from my actual foods. And then the next question, Debbie is asking, are free weights the best thing to start if you have a weak core, or are machines better to help keep your body properly aligned? Um, I'm always going to say free weights are the goal. So I'm kind of copying out and not answering the question, but free weights are the goal. If you're able to start with free weights, that's great. If you are still having a hard time connecting with your body, if you are trying to do a squat and you don't feel the muscle you're trying to work, that would be a good time to go into machines. And usually in my consult, we can decide whether a machine is the right place to start and then transition into free weights, because it's a great place to kind of learn how to move the right way. It can help you decide, it can help you feel things that you might not feel if you're just getting started. So, good question. It really depends on the person. I would not go away from machines if you feel like it helps you get the confidence you need as you're starting your journey in strength training. Start with machines and then move on to free weights after you get that practice in. Again, the practice is going to be key. And it can take a lot of time. It's not a short-term thing, it's going to be a long-term thing. Okay, here's your training day. We're putting it all together. Close your eyes, imagine yourself waking up bright and early, or whenever you wake up. The normal time you wake up doesn't have to be bright and early. So on your training day, you wake up, you're like, today's the day, I'm going to the gym. What do you do? So we're going to start with, I thought I'd change this. Okay, I did. Starting with eating. You're going to have breakfast at some point before you work out. If you're working out in the morning, try to eat before you work out about 1 to 2 hours before you work out so that you have time to digest and have something in your system that you're using for your workout. So including your protein and carbohydrates, these are going to be things that you need throughout your workout, also things throughout your day, but mostly for this workout today. Hydration, you want about 4 hours prior to exercise, you want to drink water, maybe something else. It can be, like I said, something that has electrolytes in it, but definitely water. And also 2 hours prior to exercise. Um, Somewhere I had the recommendations for how much water, but if you have a water bottle, I might have one here. 4 hours prior to exercise, you're going to drink a bit more. 2 hours prior to exercise, you're going to drink a little less. And then during the exercise, if you're working out, um, more than an hour, you might need to drink in that hour, but sometimes you don't need to drink during the workout. It really depends on what you're doing. So for your workout, don't forget to dress for success. You do want to have your body able to do the movements that you want to do throughout that workout. So don't wear your jeans. If you are wearing your jeans, you're probably not going to be able to squat very well. But make sure you're just ready to sweat and ready to feel comfortable in your workout. Your warm up. We're not talking much about warm up, but about 5 to 10 minutes of light aerobic exercise. You can be on a treadmill, some sort of a machine. You can do some light dynamic movements on a mat. There's a lot of different ways people like to warm up. The main thing is that you're raising your body temperature, activating your muscles, mobilizing your joints, and then progressing into your workout. And that's the acronym RAMP, raising your body temperature, activating your muscles, mobilizing the joints, and progressing into the workout. Then we have our 8 to 10 resistance exercises. We talked about these previously, so hopefully you have some ideas there. I always recommend starting with the larger movements, the more larger muscles and the more muscles used. So something like a squat, the compound exercises, start with those big ones and then move down to the smaller ones. So you're ending your workout with something like a calf raise or the arm, bicep, tricep things because you want to be fresh for those big muscles, the things that really are mimicking what you do in real life. And then later, you're in those 8 to 10, that's when you can target things that you really need that are unique to you. Maybe you want to do, uh, you need more calf raises because you want to train your ankles. Maybe you're a runner or you have been having some arm issues, so you really want to focus on that. So have those near the end. And finally, the cool down stretch, we want to activate our parasympathetic system or the other one, the sympathetic one, the one that helps you recover with a cool down, get your mind off of the workout, let your recovery process start. You can do some stretches, of course. If you need some help with some stretches, of course, consultations, personal training, but also just cooling down your body, getting a shower, things like that. After you work out, don't forget to eat. Uh, Soon after a workout, there's some newer research showing that it's not as important to be right after your workout, but at some point after your workout, uh, to get that recovery process started. Um, I think the general recommendation of a quick meal after your workout is so that you can digest and then eat again later so that you're kind of spreading your meals out. And if you ate that 2 hours before and then you had your hour workout, it's probably time to eat anyway. Make sure you're eating your protein, fats, and carbs, all the macronutrients, because they're all going to be used in different ways. Protein, of course, is what you think of when you need to build your muscle, but you also need carbs. Carbs are the things that actually fill the muscle itself so that it can have endurance. And fat is going to be the thing that builds your hormones that actually trigger the muscles to grow. And don't forget to hydrate, of course, drinking water after a workout and relax. It is important to let your mind relax and allow your body to recover. I saw a question come in. Elizabeth asks, what about eating if you work out first thing in the morning? Yeah, it's tough because you want to work out and then eat your food and go to the gym. It can be tough if you can work out and if you can work out on a full stomach, that is an option. It can be a little discomforting to do that. Um, I think there might be some research into going into like a ketogenic type of thing. I'm not the expert here. That's something that you can ask. I would ask a doctor if it's something you can do. I just know that you're not going to get the most out of your strength training if you work out first. You're not going to have if you were asleep for 8 hours and then you went right into working out, there's just not enough glucose in your system to get a full benefit from the workout. So you're going to get some benefit. It's going to be okay, but it's probably not going to be the best for you in terms of getting the most out of the strength training. Um, I wouldn't recommend doing it every day. If you need to do it once a week, um, it can definitely have some benefits, but it's not going to be the best. I'm saying the same thing, so that's what I would say. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. We have common mistakes, and by I don't really mean mistakes. Um, I really mean what makes people stop training. The first one is overtraining. The general rule is too much, too fast. So you're either lifting too much weight or you're moving too fast. That's how people get injured 100% of the time. You can move slower, you can move less weight, and be better for it, essentially. Just do a few more reps and you'll be fine. um, but yeah, overtraining. If you are just getting started, build yourself up, choose a lighter weight, It's if you need some guidance with this, again, personal training, consultation, we have these options open for you. Tell your friends about it. If you have to run, we will have a recording and we will be sending this out. So don't worry, you're not going to miss anything. Just watch the video when we send it out. Another way people get injured is from improper form. So if you get injured, you're going to have to stop training. And then you might get into that habit of, I wasn't training. How do I get back into the training? So that's another way people stop. Setting unrealistic expectations. If you're not seeing the results that you wanted, this can be really detrimental to your mental state because progression is not linear. You might see a lot of progression at the start, or you might not see anything for a while. It's everyone's going to be a little different. So just understand that it's going to take a long time to see any real huge benefits. It's going to be in for the long haul. And finally, lapse does not equal a relapse. Just because you had a bad week or a bad 2 weeks or a bad month doesn't mean that that's going to be forever. It's always important to come back and keep going. And even if you need to take a break, that's okay. In fact, sometimes I tell people that they need to take a break and then come back because you need that time to recover. It's so important to recover. Okay, to sum up, here are the considerations. We have what exercises, we have the compound movements, the isolation, machine, or free weight. So think of one that works for you. When and how often, the time of day you're going to be working out, and how many times a week you're going to be able to work out. Technique, thinking about your form, the speed, that tempo of how you're working out, and how many reps, how many sets are you doing. Thinking about your rest and recovery between your sets, how long you're going to rest. Are you going to be able to do a superset or a circuit? And then how long to recover after a workout? Is it going to be a couple days? Can you do every other day? That's just something for you to consider. And then your pitfalls. Again, consistency is key and get help if you need it. That's going to help you with your form, your technique, and getting the most out of your training. Okay, so here are the resources that we have at MoveWell. We have memberships because we have 2 gyms on campus. We have the 1020 Export Street, which is right off Virginia, close to Limestone, close to the parking office. And then we also have the Seton Center. But as employees, you can also go to the Johnson Center. Uh, it's a different membership, but you can go to them. The Johnson Center is $17 a month. Memberships here at Export, those are $9 a month. So choose the one that works best for you. Consultations are done by 3 of these individuals. We have Carrie, my supervisor, and then here's me and Chad. He's our exercise physiologist. On the bottom right here is Don. He's our first personal trainer. We do have Lexi, who just started personal training, so I didn't get her face on this slide yet. She does personal training. Personal training is great if you need a little more guidance from not just a one-time session. There's consultations and Fitness 101. Those are one-time things, one time per year. Personal training is going to be, I need something once a week for a while. And we also have Move Rewards, but those are changing. So come back for MoveWell rewards. Hopefully, if you're watching this YouTube video, we have made the announcements for that. Okay, last question before we have to finish up. How about off-campus employees who are not close to Lexington? Yes. So we do have consultations on Zoom. So that is an option. In terms of gyms, go to the employee discount page to see how you can get a discount for those gyms off campus. Yes, consultations and Fitness 101 are available virtually. So off campus, a lot of gyms off campus will give you a discount, a little discount by virtue of being a University of Kentucky employee. So that's on the employee discount page. I can include that in the emailed link that for the wrap up. I'll include a link to our discount page. So thank you for that. We also have walking on campus. If you need some cardio, we have different ways that people can walk around campus, our campus loops. And I think Walk with a Doc is happening. I can't remember what time it's happening, but I was just looking that up recently. That is at the Arboretum. But you can email me. My name is Matt Fells McDowell. My email is matt.fells-mcdowell@uky.edu. I can answer questions. And if there are any questions, we have a couple minutes. If you have to run to your next thing, we are wrapping up here. Thank you for joining us. And for the YouTube video, I have the references. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.